Now we can implement that HTTP service. So first we create a one component, that is a post component, okay, and then we can create a service, and that we can create the service with the help of the Angular CLI. Right now I'm creating a core service as a manually we can create it. Instead of that, from the command line also created a service for you. So first we create the component, we create a post component for that, nggc post, okay. It creates your component. First, I have to map that component. We can map that component first, and then we create your HTTP services. Okay. So in the post, we can copy that selector name, and we can map it in our app component HTML file. So for that, we can use app hyphen post. Now, I want to create a HTTP service. Again, you can create that HTTP service in your app folder. If you want to create in a utility folder, you can create in utility folder as well. As per your project requirement, you can create it. Okay. Right now, I'm creating in app folder. To create a service, for that we use a command nggs. S stands for service and gives your service name, that is HTTP. And giving the name as HTTP, just hit enter. It creates a two file. First is a service.spec.ts and another is a service.ts. Spec.ts is used for your automation testing purpose, and http.service.ts it is used for the development purpose. We can here return your business logic. In that service, see what exactly it does. Okay. Here in the service, HTTP service, one more decorator is added. The decorator is @injectable. And it is a decorator. It is a class level decorator. It takes a one more JSON object that is provided in root. In the previous case, we created the service from the manually. In that case, we not mention any @injectable decorator, because we learned that service is a simple class. Still, here is also service is a simple class, but the Angular gives one more advantage with the help of the decorator. @injectable is an advantage for our service. How it is advantageous? The first advantage, if you are mentioning your injectable as a decorator to your class service, you did not register your service in your provider section. @injectable decorator is doing yourself. Okay? Means if you forget to register that HTTP service in your provider section, because that will happen in your Angular projects when you are doing any company projects. In that case, one or more services you have to create it, and you not remember that service I am registered or not. It's not possible, because in our project only you are not working in that project. Your whole team is developing that application. So somewhere one more developer is there, and that developer is very lazily, okay, not perfect in his work. Okay, because we are a human being, not everybody is the same. Okay, so that developer will forget to register that service. Okay, then it will create a problem for your Angular application. So Angular tells that if you not register that service, don't worry, I will register that service in your provider section. Okay, internally it is registered your service in a provider section. For that we use a @injectable. So no worry about to register that service in your provider section. Second advantage, when we are using @injectable decorator, that service we can access any module throughout your application. You can access that service in any module. Okay, so that is one more advantage of that injectable. Third advantage of that injectable, in that service, okay, for that HTTP service, can we create the dependency injection? The answer is yes. We already learned that we can create the dependency injection in a constructor level. So if there is a service or if there is a component, okay, if you create a dependency injection in a service, I'm particular word using a service. If you are creating a dependency injection in your service, then Angular has to clarify that which is your root service and which is your dependent service, that we have to mention, or you have to use the just initial data or metadata to your Angular application. So for that, injectable is used one more JSON object that is a provided in, and mention that is a predefined value, that is a root, that indicates HTTP service is a root service. In that HTTP service, you can create one or more dependency injection. Okay, then Angular will be understand, okay, HTTP service is your main service, and inside that you created one or more dependency injection because that service is dependent on the another resource. To understand purpose, we use a provided in root. If you're not mentioning this provided in root, then Angular gives an ambiguity error. Angular does not understand which is your root service and which is your dependent service. For to just clarification for that Angular, we use a provided in root. So that is with the help of @injectable. So it is a very much advantageous for our services. Okay, clear these things, everybody?
Yes, Sumit.
Why we use @injectable?
Yes,
Sumit.
Yes, Sumit.
Okay, fine. Now we can move further. I want to use a get method. Okay, so here we just enlist here method, HTTP method, get, post, put, delete. In that we use a get method. So for that, I have to use this HTTP methods, get, post, put, delete. We have to import one module in our Angular application. Okay, so first we have to import that module in our app.module.ts. In a imports section, that is a predefined module, HTTP client module. Okay, and that HTTP client module is a present in your. We have to import that manually. VS Code will not be imported automatically, so we have to import curly bracket, mention that module name and where that module is present, on which packages it is present. So it is a @angular /common /HTTP package. That HTTP client module is present. It is a module. In that module, there is a lot of services is there, lot of classes is there. Okay, many more things are present in that HTTP client module. Among of that, we have to use here to create a dependency injection. In the HTTP service, I have to create the dependency injection. Why we have to create the dependency injection? Because I have to access that HTTP method, that get, post, put, delete in that service. Because according to that, I have to return our business logic. So to create a dependency injection in a constructor level, for that again we use a private, because I have to access that service throughout this HTTP service class. So make it as access specifier. Then we can mention that dependency injection variable name, that is HTTP colon. I use HTTP client. HTTP client is again a inbuilt service that present in your HTTP client module, that is present your @angular /common /HTTP. So now here create one dependency, and now we can use the HTTP client service. We can access your HTTP methods in your HTTP service class or service. For that, we can make it one method, that is get post. In that get post, we can access that this dot, that is dependency we created, that is HTTP client, HTTP. Okay, we access it's a get method. Now we see what the get method first parameter is required. The first parameter is a URL, means which you are mention your backend URL. So we can create here private URL of type string and mention that URL. I just copy that URL because I already mentioned here. I will copy that copy and just here use it. HTTP URL does not include any white space. Okay. Now that URL we can pass to this get method. Now that get method understand which backend we have to connect. For that, mention the URL. So here this dot URL. Again, after the mention the URL of that get method, second argument is an option. Okay, that is an optional parameter. If you want to pass any HTTP headers, you can use that option parameter as well. If you want to pass any params, you can use params as well. If you want to pass any response type, what is the response type I have to mention? So you can also use for that second parameter. Right now, we cannot be used here because it's optional. We can see the latter one in your project. Okay. Now that get methods of that return type is observable. Okay. Then what is meant by observable? It's most important. Observable. The observable is it is a asynchronous non-blocking operation. Okay, observable is a asynchronous non-blocking operation. What exactly it is, Sumit? Asynchronous non-blocking operation. Now, it is a very simple meaning of that asynchronous non-blocking operations. See, if you send any HTTP request from your front end, okay, that request may be get, post, put, or delete. Observable take that request and goes to your mentioned URL. That is your backend URL. It goes that backend server through the internet and check the first case. Observable check whether your backend server is available to process our request. Okay. If sometimes it will happen, your server is backend server is busy, it cannot process your request. So in that case, observable inserts some millisecond delay, not a second, millisecond. It may be 10 millisecond, it may be 5 millisecond. It depends. It is not fixed. The observable mentioned a 10 millisecond delay always. It depends that observable. That observable will decide. Okay, that is a random. Observable insert a millisecond delay and wait to whether our backend server is available to process our request. After that completion of that delay, still your backend is not process your request, then observable notify to the Angular that backend server is not available. It again directly notify to your Angular application or Angular. In that case, Angular will display that server is not available. That is the first case. If again I have to make it one more connection to your backend server, so I can just hit the request, that get request. Observable take that request and come to your backend server. Now, in second case, your backend server is available to process your request. Okay. Now, observable gives the request to your backend server. Your backend server will process that request and make it the response. That response is given to that observable. Observable take that response and notify to your Angular that backend send a response. If you want that response, you can use my subscribe method, because observable is not exactly inbuilt a part of a Angular. It is a part of RxJS library. So the observable has a subscriber method. So observable tells or notify to the Angular. If you want that response, you can call my subscribe method, and in that subscribe method, you will get a backend response. So you can pass that response and use it for your further use cases. Okay. So observable, it is called asynchronous non-blocking operation. Clear, everybody?
Yes, Sumit.
What is the role of observer? I think it may be more clear idea about. Correct, Hamid?
Yes.
Other Sagar, Srivasan, Tulsidaran, are you get these things?
Yes, Sumit.
Yes, Sumit.
Okay. Harshal, now you are okay? You're, I think, for that feeling very well or not? What? Harshal? Okay, fine. Okay. Now the get method is return observable. So I have to return that. So we use a return and we can return the observable object, okay, from here. Now I have to access that HTTP service in our component. Okay. Now just come here on our component. That is a post component. Where is it? Okay. In your component file, first I have to create a dependency injection. So we can create first a dependency injection, that is a private service of type HTTP service. You have to import that. You can quick fix and import it that services in our component file. Okay. About that, it is a imported. After that, I have to access that get post. Okay. Whatever the data I have to access means that data, that array of object I have to access all these things in our application. For we can use Angular lifecycle hook, that is a ng on init. In that we can access that service. Okay. So for a better coding practices, we create a one method get post. Okay. And get post we call it in our ng on init method. We cannot directly return code in ng on init. But this is a bad programming practices. Always create a one custom method and we can call that custom method in your ng on init, because ng on it in a ng on init method you have to many other logic also required to fetch initially things. So don't write code in ng on it. Always make it a method and call that method in your ng on init. So it is for code readability is also very good. Okay, for that. Now in get post method, we can just use that service. This dot a service. We can call that get post method. Okay. Now get post method is written a here mentioned that observable. It is an object. Okay. So we can call it's a subscribe method because observable notify to the Angular. If you want to the response, you can call my subscribe method. Again, that subscribe method is the first parameter or first argument is a callback function. Okay. So we can here make it as a fatter of function. Callback function is nothing but your fatter of function. You will mention that response. You can mention the name here anywhere. If you want to give the name is a my response, you can give it because that response is a parameter. It will be fill out by the subscribe method. So you can mention any name. For the standard purpose, I'm mentioning the response as a name. It is a fatter of function. It's let use a fatter of function, and we can pass that response. Initially, just I'm console use a console.log and display that response on our browser console. Then we can that pass the data and display it in view file as well. Okay. First, we check whether it is working properly or not. So for that, come your application, inspect, and your console application. See here, you will get the data. Okay, all data will be accessible. It is in the array of object. Particular record is in JSON object. So all data will be received here up to I think 99, 100 data is present in their array of object. Okay. Now I want to display that data in our view file. We can display that
G4.
for that ng4. Very good. So first we have to make it one property. We can store the data in the property, and the property will be rendering our view file. So here we can mention here posts. Make it as a property whose type is any and created a blank array. Now we can just take that data. Just we see here this dot post and equal to, we can mention here directly response. Okay, what the gives here, post component post object type is assignable to few other types. Did you mean it you to any type instead of object, because object is missing? Why it is give the error? Because that response of type is here, of type is object, correct?
Yes.
And your post type is any type of array. So how can remove or how can overcome that error? Because that error is occurred. This dot post. Post object is not be assignable to your any type of array. How you can here use as a response, make it as a in a any type of object? Yes, by Krishnan, Onkar, Lokesh, anybody?
Object array. Creating custom data type.
Creator? Yes, Tulsidaran, Amit,
Subscribe, response, semicolon, any.
subscribe. Here, you means you have to mention here type
Yes.
any. In that case, or you just mention here any. Okay. Okay. Let me see whether it is correct or not. Now we can use a post in your component file. We can just display the data. We can display the data in a table format. Okay. For we create a table. In the table, we have to use a T head to give the heading of the table. Sorry. Okay. And that we can use a TS tag. That is a industry structure format to display a table. Okay. For I want to display a serial number of not a serial number, I mentioned the ID directly. Okay. Then we can display in the JSON object. See here, in that JSON object, user ID, title, and body. Okay. These all keys are present. Instead of this, all these keys, we can just pass that only ID, title, and body. Okay. These three keys data we can pass it in our view file. ID, title, and body. I don't want user ID. Okay, so I will not be pass that. If you want, you can pass it. But right now I don't want, so I'm just using ID. Then I use a title, and then we can use a body. Then we can mention that actual table body. For that we use a T body. Then you use a TR. Inside the TR, we require the 3 column. So I'm using a 3 column. On the TR, we can apply the for loop. There is a ng for, and we use a let atom of and your array name. What is your array name? It is a post, or that we use a post array. Okay. Now here we can use a string interpolation. Correct.
Yes.
Simply your current data is in which variable?
Item.
Atom. So atom dot, and we can mention your ID. It's a key name. ID is a key name of that JSON object. Okay. So always remember your key name is appropriate. If your key name is wrong, the data will be not be retrieving or parsing from the JSON object. Then after that, key is a title, and next key is your body. Okay, it will display the data. See here, data is display ID, title, body. I have to make it border for the table. We can use a CSS. So we use a th, td, tr, and we can mention that border 1 pixel. Sorry, 1 pixel
Solid.
solid. Okay, by default it will take a black color for that border. Okay, then here it applied the border ID, title, body. Here now we using a get method. Okay, clear?